top anime about being kicked out of the adventurer's party. As an appraiser with the low common level skills, Ein is treated like trash even by his own adventurer party. While in a dungeon, his party abandons him when they run into a dangerous pack of monsters. Given no other option, Ein decides to jump off a cliff, only to be saved by Yuri, the world tree spirit. Yuri's gifts and training make him a vastly stronger adventurer, one capable of even predicting his opponent's attacks. After training long enough, Ein and Yuri travel into the rest of the world, where new adventures await them. Worthless Appraiser seems like it'll be another revenge-driven fantasy series in the early episodes. However, viewers who look for that will quickly be disappointed, as Ein transforms into a pacifist early on, deciding to use his powers strictly to help the spirits who helped him. Not much else elevates the series either, with animation, story, and characters all settling at mediocre at best. I left my A-rank party focuses on Yuka Feldio, a red mage that works for the A-rank adventurer party, Thunder Pike. Despite Yuka working hard, Thunder Pike constantly takes advantage of his efforts, eventually causing him to quit. Though he's briefly unemployed, Yuka gets lucky enough to run into a group of junior adventurers he mentored before, who excitedly welcome him into their group. I left my A-rank party is about as standard a power fantasy series as they come. Despite red mages normally not being wanted, Yuka is naturally absurdly overpowered. More than that, all of his junior adventurers are attractive young women who are all eager to marry him. That said, it is surprisingly dark in some places, and the story goes high stakes quickly, with Yuka and his allies being called on to save the world from certain destruction. Most anime that involve being kicked out of an adventurer's party tends to center around a single character. Ningen Fushin does the opposite. The entire main cast is full of people who've been betrayed by their party at some point or another. Nick, Tiana, Zem, and Curran are all drawn together after being betrayed by their parties, and agree that they'll get their revenge by choosing to work together. Ningen Fushin is an anime that starts out with a ton of potential, as each character has a uniquely funny or tragic story that led to them being betrayed. Yet about midway through the series, Ningen Fushin begins abandoning its fantasy elements in favor of focusing on the characters' hobbies. This series is a great example of how it's harder to make fantasy comedic anime than it seems. The Healer Who Was Banished follows Lost, a healer with a terrible record for adventurer parties. After being fired by the Blades of Lightning for his lacking talent as a healer, Lost is left without a clear direction for his life. Yet it doesn't take long before he's invited to join a new group by the martial artist Narcina, where he sets out on a new series of adventures. When the two become successful, it isn't long before the Blades of Lightning begin begging for Lost to come back. The Healer Who Was Banished is another anime with a ridiculously long title that's just a waste of a good idea. It could have been cool to see a healer use their powers in an offensive way to make them seem powerful. But Lost is just a mediocre healer and a good fighter. It doesn't even have decent animation, often descending into slide slow levels for its scenes, making it a boring watch even for people who like generic Isekai.
俺の最後のダメージを力に変える生命
The tank with the highest defense ever, it was only fitting for Rudd to be the tank for the hero's party. However, after a dungeon raid fails, the hero Keelgas kicks Rudd out of his party. With no party, Rudd decides to return home, and on the way saves a young girl from a monster attack. After saving her, though, the young girl uses her appraisal skill to teach Rudd about his hidden abilities, helping him learn he's actually far more powerful than anyone thought. The strongest tank's labyrinth raids doesn't break new ground with most of its ideas. After Rudd gets appraised, he's capable of doing anything, and it's impossible to harm him. The only thing new here is that for once it's a tank-type character, who rarely get any spotlight in series like these. Aside from those who love playing the tank, the biggest fans of this series will likely be video game lovers, as much of this game's world functions exactly like a game. Chillin' in my 30s after getting fired from the Demon King's army follows Dariel, one of the 4 demon generals in the Demon King's army. There's just one problem: he's been fired due to his lack of magic talent. Wandering the forest after losing his job, Dariel saves Malika, a human girl, from an attack and gets invited to live in her village. While there, Dariel not only learns that he's a human, but that he's far more powerful than the actual hero meant to defeat the Demon King. In My 30s offers a twist on the usual kicked out of the adventurer's party trope, instead presenting a character who's kicked out of the Demon King's army. Nonetheless, it's fairly similar to the rest of the genre outside that, with the protagonist wielding great power but choosing to embrace the slow life. That said, at least with the marriage it does avoid all the harem nonsense of series like this, instead focusing on a wholesome relationship between 2 adventuring adults.
絶対にお前の思い通りにはさせないってことだ。ファイヤーボールマルチショット。
Rain Shroud is a beast tamer, capable of forming contracts with animals and animal spirits, alike to work alongside them. However, that isn't good enough for his party leader Arios, leading to Rain being kicked out of the hero's party. While working on his own, Rain meets Kanade, an ultimate cat spirit, who agrees to form a contract with him. With Kanade's help, Rain is able to go on new adventures, reminding himself he isn't useless after all. Despite its looks, Beast Tamer is a surprisingly wholesome and fun cozy fantasy anime. Rather than Rain chasing revenge, he just wants to find worth in his own talents, which brings him new friends along his path. With likable characters, solid animation, and a lack of fan service, this series is an easy recommendation for anyone looking for a new fantasy series that's a quick watch. Welcome to the Outcasts Restaurant follows Dennis, a chef for the adventurers group Silver Wing. When Silver Wing kicks him out of the group for a mission gone wrong, Dennis decides to abandon the adventurer's life and start his own restaurant. While preparing to open the restaurant, Dennis saves Atriel, a member of a fallen noble house. Together, the pair open a restaurant that serves all manner of clients, but keeps attracting other adventurers. Welcome to the Outcasts Restaurant is easily one of the best anime of its kind. Rather than setting up yet another revenge-styled series, the show takes the idea of running a restaurant in a fantasy universe seriously. Each episode gives Dennis a chance to help people through his cooking skills, and his ability to do what he loves brings him joy in turn. This is a great fantasy slice-of-life anime, which fans don't get to enjoy often. Hajime Nagumo was enjoying a normal life until he and his classmates were summoned to an alternate world. However, while his classmates received incredible special abilities, Hajime only had the weak, synergist job, making him one of the group's worst fighters. During a dungeon dive gone wrong, Hajime is abandoned and falls to the lower levels of the dungeon. Surviving against the monsters in the depths of the dungeon, Hajime returns a changed man, working with the mysterious vampire Girlyu to find his way home, no matter what. Arifureta is one of the best examples of the betrayal subgenre out there. While the series has many of the same elements as other anime within the genre, like having an overpowered protagonist and a battle harem cast, it just executes the tropes better to create a more watchable experience. The series' biggest weakness is its animation, which is fixed in the second and third seasons, turning it into the perfect series for those who enjoy trashy isekai anime.
誰？
Originally a member of the hero's party assigned to defeat the Demon Lord, Gideon's world was shattered when he was kicked out of the group by its mage, Ares. Because his level couldn't keep up with the group's, Gideon abandoned his life as an adventurer and chose to become an apothecary in the countryside. Going under the identity Red, Gideon manages to live a quiet life. Even after an ally from his old life, Rit, begins living with him. Banished from the Heroes Party is the series that truly popularized the kicked out of the adventuring group subgenre of anime. The series splits its time between being a cute, cozy isekai with Red and Rit's time running a business and a serious fantasy work as it continues to follow the hero's life. The combination of the two makes the series a lot better than most would expect, and an enjoyable watch across both its seasons.